taking a question from Anju first, and then I would like all of you to please take the opportunity to ask your concerns with Anju, because she comes with a deep knowledge and background in helping and supporting parents. Understand psychological needs, fulfilling them for us and for our children is very important. And I really want all of you to ask questions from Anju. So Anju, my first question is, moment a child is diagnosed and a parent think we will do everything under the earth, under the sun, sorry, we will do everything, and we basically get into a parental burnout. What is the impact of parental burnout on parents, on the child, as well as on a family as a whole? Please help us to understand it. So what approach should parent take?
So with any diagnosis, not just with autism.
Wait, Anju, you unmute yourself. Okay.
Audible now? Yeah. So with any diagnosis, not just with autism, it takes time for the parents to understand what exactly is going on. So even though it's difficult, so when you first receive a diagnosis, there's a lot of things that's happening. You think about your child's future, how it's going to affect them. So before getting into a whole thing of what to do next, take time to process your emotions, to understand, to do research, to speak to the right people and understand what their approach might be before you figure out. Take time to understand your child as well and understand what exactly their needs would be, because every child would have different needs, because especially with autism, every child is so unique and their needs are so unique. So before, understand where your child stands on the spectrum, and accordingly take time to understand what therapies are available that would help them.
How can parents take care of themselves? What is the importance of parents taking care of themselves first before they take care of the child?
So we were talking about burnout. So that is something that parents want to do what is best for their child, but they don't understand that their frustrations or their negative emotions can be transferred to your child, and that makes them very frustrated as well, even though they're not able to vocalize it. So self-care, so parents taking time to themselves, not just within the family, but outside the family as well. So having a support system, having a community, whether it's, it would be beneficial to the parents if they have friends who have children who are on the spectrum as well, so they have that sense of understanding. And having that sense of community is something that really benefits the parents, so that they're in a good mental space where they can understand their child, and not taking their entire day and thinking what to do next, but taking time to spend time with their child, understand them, their uniqueness, and all those things.
So, Nidhi, आपका कोई question है? I want all of you to ask a question. Nidhi, आप क्या feel करते हैं? मतलब आप आपके ऊपर क्या impact है आपके बच्चे का diagnosis? And what do you think? What kind of help do you think you would require from someone? अगर आप थोड़ा elaborate करेंगे तो सबके लिए this discussion is going to be useful for everyone. क्योंकि हम deny नहीं कर सकते कि हम affect हुए हैं. We are affected. I, as a mother of a child with autism, know it very well how affected I am. So I can imagine all of us are affected in some or other way. So how are we going? How should we approach it? So Nidhi, आपका कोई question है तो आप please उसको पूछिए and you will answer.
Yeah. Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Over expectation from a child, under expectation from a child, anything, depression, or family not supporting, or whatever, family not understanding, acceptance, denial, anything which you think. Yes, please. So Lakshmi is going to ask one question from Anju. Yeah.
Hi, Anju, ma'am. My name is Lakshmi. So I wanted to ask something about emotional resilience. So the thing is, my son gets very emotional. Like, for example, like he's in a traffic and he knows that the traffic is not going to move for some time, or maybe it will move in some time. But he gets very frustrated. He gets very irritated. So he keeps asking, when will it move? Why is it not moving? Is the police stopping it? Is there a jam? Or is some vehicle waiting? Or some vehicle broken down? So he keeps chanting all these possibilities. And finally, it comes to a point that he starts breaking down. He starts crying. He cries. Till the vehicle makes a move, he keeps crying. So initially, I used to pacify him. I used to keep my calm and I used to somehow pacify him about all these things. But nowadays, what is happening is as soon as I see a traffic jam or I anticipate a traffic jam, I get into that mode. Like I now know that, oh my God, he's going to start crying. And instead of pacifying him or trying to control him, I start losing it myself. So I just ask him, you please shut up. Or I just get very angry at him. Though I know that I'm not supposed to do that. I have to keep my calm if he has to keep his calm, but still I lose it. So this keeps happening many a times, not only in traffic. He is a person who needs everything to be systematic. He has X number of toys, and each time he needs those X number of toys at home. In case one goes missing, not even missing, one is misplaced, he starts screaming at the top of his voice. So now when I sit to play with him, I'm always anxious about those X number of toys rather than giving my time to him. I keep thinking, oh my God, what if this next one is not there? What if the next one is not there? So that is what now keeps coming into my mind. So how do I deal with that?
So I think this is an example of how a child's diagnosis can be so impactful on their parents as well. So this is basically like it's become a trauma for you as well. So now when you see your child becoming anxious, it's become a response for you also to become anxious. So that is where therapies are important for your child as well as the parents themselves. For anxiety, we have something called like grounding techniques. So that could be useful for you as well as your child. So you use your five senses. So you say when you see your child becoming anxious, or you yourself start becoming anxious, you can just take a moment and say, three things around me that I can see, two things around me that I can touch, one thing around me that I can smell. So this is an example of a grounding technique. So that helps you understand, it calms your nerves, it helps you understand your environment. Just close your eyes, you try to zone in and not to get overwhelmed by everything that's happening around you. So that is one of the things we use in therapy for people when they become anxious.
Yeah, I would also like to. So as Anju mentioned, it's a trauma response. Trauma is something. So children, parents of children with autism, generally they get into trauma, or a diagnosis of PTSD can happen to them actually, which is not very uncommon, which is actually very common. 9 out of 10 parents will get PTSD. PTSD is not just soldiers coming back from the war. Now, PTSD is a diagnosis in DSM-5, and we can be traumatized from anything. For example, we see a meltdown of a child. Say in a mall, child has a meltdown, and every single human being is watching us, and the kind of shame and guilt we get into can be traumatic for us, right? And then we start getting scared. And then what we do? We stop going to mall. What it happens? The child's exposure becomes restricted. Our own life gets restricted. So definitely freeing ourselves from the trauma is very important. So one thing I suggest, like of course what grounding techniques will Anju has suggested, but there's so many modalities, so many different ways, breathing, simple breathing techniques, yoga, meditation, these kind of things parents should follow. And safe and sound protocol, vagus. So this is all this function of a vagus nerve. So here what vagus nerve is creating getting a lot of momentum and lot of क्या कहना चाहिए, a lot of attention these days. So able to maintain. So for Lakshmi's child as well as for Lakshmi, safe and sound protocol could be a good option to start with. And there are some other therapies, a lot of therapies like EMDR, then psychotherapy, psychosomatic therapies, access bars, a lot of therapies are there, which we should consider for ourselves. As I say, if you are burnt out, you will not be able to give anything to your child. So keeping your mental health and your physical health intact, your emotional health intact is very important. So this is something that I'm just talking about the modalities here. Okay. Does this help?
Yes.
Okay. Safe and sound protocol. Right now, I will say the simplest to start with. Any other question? Yeah, Zahid, I think, Zahid, do you have a question? Your hand is raised, or is it raised from the previous question itself?
It's from the previous question.
Okay. Usha Rani has joined. Usha, do you have any doubts about parental well-being or child's well-being in terms of psychological aspects? So Anju is there to help you. Usha Rani has a I mean, you can share your journey in terms of importance of psychological health, maintenance of psychological health for us, for parents. What all do you do for yourself? Do you take 1 hour away from yourself, away from your child completely? Whatever it is, watching a movie, watching Netflix, going for a walk, or going to gym, or socializing with your friend.
I
You all
take
do
1 hour.
it, or you have started ignoring yourself completely?
No, ma'am.
And do you want to say something about it? How parents can?
Ma'am, can you talk
think
on something about this? Like the kids are being avoided, like when they play in a group, bullying, yes. Our kids get excluded from others. So that maybe they don't understand it, but we get hurt as parents. So we see them being outcast, not fitting into the team. So how can we overcome that?
It's again a trauma. It's a trauma response.
Because
yeah,
I have seen my son being called mental.
Mm.
So that time I was quite shocked. I never knew what to do. So I just came back home and I sat brooding over it. So what can we do regarding such things, ma'am, when our kids get bullied or get outcasted from the...
So first thing is working on ourselves, right? First thing is definitely acceptance. First thing is acceptance of our kids. If we are not accepting, society is also not going to accept. If we see our children as incomplete, the community is also going to see our children as incomplete. I can just share my child, I would say quite significantly. My child, my son, who's on spectrum, is quite significantly affected. But I still don't see him as incomplete. I think he is the most competent, most handsome, most loving child on the world, and things he can't do the way I see it. Okay. If he can't do those things are not important for him. So let me focus on what can he do and how can I create meaning to his life by doing the things or by making him do the things which he can do. So that is a perspective. Because other perspective, the society is throwing it on me that my child has to talk, my child has to go to school. We all have dreams. I'm not saying we don't have dreams. My child has to go to school, my child has to, yes, we all want that. And I'm not saying that I don't want that. But the thing is, in the end, these are the norms created by people, by society. And we have to free ourselves from that. So acceptance starts from us. That's the first requirement, working on ourselves. A second step is helping people to understand our children. So see, that's the reason. Generally, what we see, moment our children is diagnosed, we do not want them to expose, or don't want them to be exposed or know the rest of the family, like rest of the community to know that they have a diagnosis, or we would not like to post their videos on Facebook or YouTube. What I suggest is different. What I suggest is create a space for your child. See, for example, right now at Play Street, we have decided that we are going to start an Instagram account for my son. So why am I doing it? He's a disabled child. Whole world will know about his disability. But by hiding his disability, will my child be helped? No. So what I'm trying to do is for him. Help people to understand the things he can do, things, the underneath knowledge he has. So I suggest all of the parents to find that strength in your child and share with the world. Share with us. We will share it with the world. So, for example, in the play, your child has achieved something. Let the world know that your child can do it. Yeah, these are the difficulties, but these are the good things. Because when the child hears good things about himself, child gets more motivated. That's the second step. And then third step is talk to other people. Create acceptance. Talk to them that, yeah, my child has a difficulty. Talk to the parents of those children, those who are bullying. Make an effort. Create a relationship with them. Don't be angry with them. You know, if you're angry with them, things are not going to go anywhere, because think it is, they also do not know. So invite them for dinner, talk to them, help them understand this is what is happening. And can this group, even if just once a week, can start accepting my child, even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's 15 minutes, can it start at some point? So basically, then those children also will start understanding that, okay, this child is like that, and rather than bullying him, we should support him. But see, we have to take that initiative. We just can't be angry with them, because it's, if we are angry with them, for them it's nothing to lose. Think about it. For them it's nothing to lose. We are at a loss. So we have to do something about it. I know one person, I'm not taking the name, but I know one person. So she was a single parent. I'm talking about, like, I know her from 15 years. So what she used to do, and she told me, actually, this is the suggestion which was given to me. So what she used to do, she always used to keep chocolates in her bag, and when her child was not included, she actually used to give them chocolates to all the children. Okay, take this chocolate and play with my son for some time. And like every week, she used to, and then invite them at home and cook something nice for them. So children start feeling, okay, I like, whenever this auntie invites us, she gives us something nice which we like, and she used to, like, okay, play with this toy. And sometimes she used to give them a cycle. Why don't you just ride the cycle? So she basically took an initiative to put all those things together, and she started bringing something for those kids, a chocolate or a cycle ride or some toys. So kids actually, because of the kids are kids, they like all those things. So they forgot to bully the child to get all those things. They actually wanted to play with that child. And then, and that child was, they started playing with other children. So as a parent, I think we should do that. Rather than getting angry or rather than getting disheartened, raise yourself. Raise yourself a bit and talk to the parents. Yes, my child has this difficulties. Now you tell me, how can you help me? If you want to help me. If you don't want to help me, forget it. I'll go to some other parent. The thing is, like, start looking at it rationally. That's what I'm suggest. For that, we have to work on our emotions and our trauma. If we are in our emotions, in our trauma, we can never come out of this. This is a whirlpool. It will just keep on dragging us. Sadness will make us more sad. More sad we are, more sad we remain, more disappointed and dejected we remain. It will only take us to more dejection, more disappointment. And we will see that impact on our relationship with our child. Because somewhere we will blame our child. Somewhere we will blame our child for us to lose our hope or dreams. That is the most devastating effect of the trauma on the child. So I suggest prioritize yourself.
May I ask a question?
So there are a lot of therapies. Again, you can contact us. There are so many people helping out. EMDR is one therapy. Access bars is one therapy. Safe and just start with safe and sound protocol. The easiest thing to start with. Safe and sound protocol I suggest for parents first, and then with children. With children, it's very important. For parents also, it's very important because it helps us. It helps us to bring from sympathetic and dorsal vagal to ventral vagal, which is rest and digest, which is a engagement system, which is a branch for social engagement. So that is, and yeah, there are other things. Meditation, simply do meditation, breathing, yoga, gym. My postural system is important for my regulation. So work on your own postural systems. This is all very important. Okay. Now we'll come to, if there is any other question, otherwise, yeah.
I have a question.
Sorry?
I have a question. Can I ask it?
Yes, please, Zahid, please ask. Anju is here.
At the time when I came to know that my child has a problem, I got the perception that we need to engage a child all the time, 24 hours. That trauma, actually, that the word was itself a trauma for me. How could I engage child for 24 hours? It's too difficult, and that's not even good for the child. Keeping him all the time engaged with different activities, he needs the rest also. Is it necessary to engage him all the time so that he is not lost in his own world? But we have to change our perception.
You want to answer? You answer? No, feel like you would. Okay, fine. So I'll answer this question, and I think this is I'm going to bring RDI and co-regulation in here. So you have to understand. Let's understand typical development a bit here. Typical development is when my child in the first year of their development, we don't teach them. Parents are not supposed to be teachers. The parental role is a very different role. The role of a parent is to guide, not to teach. Teaching is the role of teachers. So when my child goes to school, it's teacher's job to finish the curriculum, the syllabus, so that my child can perform in the test. And that is my teacher's role. She has to finish the entire syllabus. We don't have a syllabus. Parents do not have a syllabus for our children, right? Our role is to guide in a day-to-day basis from the and what we call it is a guiding relationship. So we have to guide them using co-regulation. So co-regulation becomes important here. So when my child is 6 months old, my child learns to observe first. And who does he observe? The caregivers. And from the actions of caregivers through the various foundations of development, which is co-regulation, referencing, experience sharing, episodic memory, and dynamic intelligence. All these foundation leads to development of self-regulation. Self-regulation is the state where I understand myself to be able to perform a task. I know whether I need to move or I need to stay quiet. Means in a football field, my self-regulation is to move and kick and sometimes hit my opponents. I mean, that is self-regulation. So if I'm hitting, I mean, not as a foul, but basically I have to make way. And so that is my self-regulation in a football field. But that's not the definition of self-regulation when I'm sitting in a classroom. That time I need to sit and I need to listen to my teacher and copy from the board. But both of them are regulations in context. So understanding that what am I supposed to do in this context is self-regulation, which can only be achieved when I have co-regulation in place. So co-regulation is that aspect of learning from my parent without being taught. And that is the 80% of the learning in life, what we call as implicit learning, happens through co-regulation. Only 20% of the learning is explicit, means which we have to teach to our children. And what we require to teach them takes only 1 or max 2 attempts. It might require reminders many times. But for example, if I have to teach my child, you do not have to open door for strangers. A safety concern or danger concern, once or twice or thrice, I might have to tell the child and my child understands it. And then of course, we have to put this in practice. You just cannot be keep on teaching it, and you cannot be just teaching everything, because if we have to do 100% teaching to our children, one life is not enough. 80% of the things children should learn by seeing themselves, by observing, by imitating, right? So for that, my child need that mental space. So if you are keeping your child engaged 24 by hours, what is the communication you are sending to a child? You cannot learn on your own. I have to teach you everything. So it's not just your burnout, it's my child's sensory overwhelm also and child's burnout also. Child's nervous system needs time to decompress. Child needs to observe. Child needs to make a decision. Child needs to, on his own, makes a theory of his own, what is right, what is wrong, what is doable, what is not doable, what is safe, what is dangerous, what is unsafe. All those things my child has to perceive on its own. And when my child is able to do that, that is what we call as independence. Independence is not just having a skill. Independence is also having an ability to think that what what skill shall I bring online right now from the box of skills I have, which is required in this context? Out of 100 skill, which is that one skill I need to use here to solve this problem at hand? Do I even understand this problem? So there's so many layers of it. And that's exactly my child has to learn from the environment on its own, which leads to independence and mental development of the child. And because the vulnerabilities my child is born with, co-regulation does not kick off. So child does not have the ability to learn on its own. That's the reason we as the parent try to teach them everything, which leads to parental burnout. And my child, because of the sensory motor difficulties, is not able to use those skills functionally. So what we have to do, we have to go back to my child's development, which happens at when my child is 1 or 2 years old, when the brain is developing at a fast rate, and help them to develop co-regulation by creating those opportunities where child learns to learn on his own through a caregiver. So learning on my own by understanding my caregiver's actions and perspective is co-regulation. So my caregiver is not telling me what to do, but I am trying to figure out what I should be doing. Because when I try to figure out what I should be doing, it develops intrinsic motivation. Motivation to do and try things, motivation to learn. When I'm told to do everything all the time, 24 by hours, I'm not doing it by motivation. I'm doing it by force. Force will take me to burnout, overwhelm, will eventually take me to flight, fight, or fright. Because if I do not have a skill, and if you're trying to teach me that skill again and again without breaking it down for me, it becomes impossible for me. So what I feel always a failure. Always I feel a failure. If you ask me to talk in Chinese, I will always feel failure because I do not know Chinese. So when I cannot talk in Chinese with you and you're asking me to do again and again and again and again, what will I do? I'll start resisting, or I'll start fighting, or I'll start withdrawing myself. I'll feel demotivated. So this is exactly is happening with our children. Because we are expecting them to do things which they can't do. So what we have to do, we have to again create an environment for them to be able to learn it on their own. And that exactly is the goal of teaching them co-regulation. Co-regulation is the most important foundation our children require to be able to learn. To learn other things, they require co-regulation, which is unfortunately missing. That's the reason I focus so much on co-regulation. Every time in a group, when parents ask me 100 questions, my standard answer 99 times is work on co-regulation. Co-regulation is required in every field of life. Let it be feeding, let it be speech, language, play, social engagement, puzzles, artwork, whatever it is, playing in a playground, everything requires co-regulation. And if co-regulation is not there, so co-regulation is my foundation, the pillars. If we build a building without the pillars and the foundation, I cannot build a higher floors. So if I say my speech is 13th floor and my language is 14th floor, without having a foundation of pillars to support my 13th and 14th floors, those 13th and 14th floors will always keep on crumbling. And that's what is happening with the children, because the foundation of co-regulation and other foundations isn't there. And that's what exactly RDI is all about. How parents can become natural guides to children, how they can develop a guiding relationship with their child, whether they don't switch to the role of a teacher 24 hours, but they maintain their relationship with the child and are able to help the child to learn on their own. That exactly is RDI.
Ma'am, I had a question मैंने ग्रुप में डाला था regarding this thing 2 or 3 days back. वो ये था कि जब एक बच्चा भागता रहता है who has already having sensory problems, तो उस सेंस में हम कहाँ से इनिशिएट करेंगे इसको? मतलब जैसे co-regulation, it's natural, something is happening naturally from the part of the parents, and the child is self-regulate automatically for the normal child. when the child is already having a lot of sensory problems and she's not able to be stable, in that context, how we can start this? Basically, I think the role modeling is important so far as the regulation is concerned. Child used to be parent used to be a role model. When the child is not stable, how could you start it? And second thing is that already the child has crossed some years of very, very important years. So do we have to presume the child to be year 1 or 2 years old and start it again?
Co-regulation starts at the age of 2 months. A child starts developing co-regulation at the age of 2 months and it goes till I die.
Okay.
Right?
First,
so, yeah, first thing.
Losing the first 5 or say 4 years, very important years. How could we see that the prognosis of this, improvements in the future?
Can you repeat? I'm not. Your voice is very low actually. Yeah. Can you?
Yes. मेरा कहने का मतलब ये है कि जैसे कि 2-3 साल बच्चे के बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है, जहां ऑटोमेटिकली बच्चा सीखता है फ्रॉम द पेरेंट्स एज अ गाइड.
हाँ. तो अब वो नहीं हुआ. ठीक है, हम समझ गए. अब वो नहीं हुआ क्योंकि बच्चा is born with autism. हमने वो टाइम लूज कर दिया. बट बिल्कुल आपको इस पे परेशान होने की जरूरत नहीं है. सारा मेंशन न्यूरोप्लास्टिसिटी. माय ब्रेन इज सो न्यूरोप्लास्टिक. इवन एट द एज ऑफ 55 years वी कैन गो बैक एंड क्रिएट दैट फंक्शन. और आपका बच्चा तो बहुत छोटा है. आप बिल्कुल इस बात की चिंता मत कीजिए. यू हैव नॉट लॉस्ट एनी टाइम. वी हैव सीन ह्यूज इंप्रूवमेंट इवन in children, those are 20 years or 25 years or 30 years or even 50 years of their life when we go back to co-regulation. Because वो foundation है. पहली बात ये. Hyperactivity, inattention, आप जो कह रहे हैं बच्चा भागता रहता है. So we have to understand बच्चा भाग क्यों रहा है. वहां पे भी हमें understand करना important है कि बच्चा भाग क्यों रहा है. वहां पे हम वो एक सेंसरी सिस्टम, फिर से आपको सेंसरी असेसमेंट चाहिए कि वो अप रेगुलेशन है, डाउन रेगुलेशन है, अराउजल लेवल लो है, हाई है. मतलब मैं आपको आई एम जस्ट थ्रोइंग द टर्म्स, डोंट इवन थिंक अबाउट इट. बट ये सेंसरी असेसमेंट आपके सेंसरी प्रोफाइल का पार्ट है. को रेगुलेशन बच्चे को हेल्प करता है आपका एनवायरनमेंट समझने में, क्योंकि बच्चा अपना एनवायरनमेंट समझ ही नहीं पा रहा है. बच्चे की ब्रेन को बहुत ज्यादा वेस्टिबुलर इनपुट चाहिए, तो बच्चा भाग रहा है क्योंकि वो अपना एनवायरनमेंट डिकोड ही नहीं कर पा रहा है. तो जब हम को-रेगुलेशन पे काम करते हैं, बच्चे के कम्युनिकेशन पे काम करते हैं, तो वी बिल्ड दैट रिलेशनशिप विद दैट चिल्ड्रन, दैट ओके व्हाट डज माय चाइल्ड नीड एंड हाउ डू आई give inputs so that my child is able to stop and get that input. So there are techniques for that, like rhythm. So we introduce rhythm patterns. So there are terms which we like JNDs. So these are the things using which we develop skills in, we develop co-regulation in child. Language, how much language to use, non-verbal communication. ये सारी चीजें important है when we work on co-regulation. And यही हमारा step up program का मतलब पूरा जो 12 weeks है उसमें यही सब हम सिखाते हैं.
Okay.
ठीक है. तो आप ये मत सोचिए कि बच्चा भाग रहा है तो वो कुछ नहीं सीख पाएगा. तो कैसे हमें उस बच्चे के उसको समझ के वो को-रेगुलेशन को डेवलप करना है ताकि बच्चा थोड़ा शांत बैठ के सीखे. और ऐसा नहीं है मूवमेंट इज बेसिकली चाइल्ड इज सेंडिंग कम्युनिकेशन, आई नीड मूवमेंट टू लर्न. तो हमको राइट वे ऑफ मूवमेंट देना है. वी हैव टू गिव राइट वे ऑफ मूवमेंट because this child is telling you I need movement for my learning. Do not make me sit. I cannot learn with sitting. Give me lot of movements, then I can learn. ठीक है. तो ये सब ऑफ कोर्स ये बहुत डिटेल डिस्कशंस हैं जो हम इस छोटे से सेशन में नहीं कर सकते. इसके लिए बहुत सारा टाइम आपको एक्सपर्ट्स के साथ इन्वेस्ट करना पड़ेगा. लाइक यू हैव टू स्पेंड टाइम टू लर्न ऑल दैट एंड इट हैज टू बी इंडिविजुअलाइज्ड फॉर योर चाइल्ड. पहला तो मेरा आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है, आप प्लीज यूट्यूब और गूगल बंद कीजिए. नो गूगल, नो यूट्यूब. Go to an expert. Might be just take one session a month or 2 sessions a month, but take your program from the expert.
Sure.
और चाहे आप JNK में ढूंढिए, चाहे आप ऑनलाइन कीजिए, वो मैं आप पे छोड़ती हूँ. But please find a guide for your child.
Yeah, we don't have the good institutions here.
Sorry?
We don't have good institutions here. That's a problem.
No worries. Don't worry. अब तो everything is online, right? Guidance can happen online. यहाँ पे भी तो हम online ही बात कर रहे हैं. वो सब तो भी limitations बचे ही नहीं है. Pandemic has solved that issue for us. So don't even worry about that. Subhashri, you have a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Actually, I have a question which should be asked earlier. I have learned so many things, but exactly what is autism, I don't know. Can you simplify what is autism, why all children are different, and what is going on in the brain? Why that I have doubt in that.
Autism is the most complex disorder so far. Okay? Lot of different kind of people are trying to understand autism from their lens. Physiotherapist bolenge, autism is a movement disorder. OTs bolenge, autism is a sensory disorder. Speeches bolenge, speech therapist bolenge, autism is a communication disorder. Okay? Nutritionist bolenge, autism is a gut disorder. और क्या और थोड़े से एग्जांपल हाँ ऑप्थेल्मोलॉजिस्ट बोलेंगे ऑटिज्म इज अ विजन इशू ऑटिज्म इज अ विजन इशू और सोचने दीजिए मुझे ठीक है तो ये हमारे ओवरऑल हो गए ऑटिज्म इज एवरीथिंग ये सारे इश्यूज हैं ऑटिज्म इज इट्स अ मूवमेंट डिसऑर्डर बेसिक हमारे जो चाइल्डहुड मूवमेंट्स डेवलप नहीं होते हैं चाइल्डहुड मूवमेंट्स डू नॉट गेट डेवलप्ड then so higher functions does not get developed when higher function does not get developed of course my child's independence is affected अब higher function में सब कुछ आता है social communication social engagement social communication का higher function और क्या है hierarchy में हम जाएंगे language ठीक है मोटर पे जाएंगे तो मोटर पार्ट में हायर फंक्शन क्या है स्पीच बट स्पीच विदाउट लैंग्वेज इज मीनिंगलेस स्पीच विदाउट सोशल एंगेजमेंट एंड विलिंगनेस to have conversation with someone is meaningless. Willingness to have a conversation is effect of co-regulation. तो आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि मेरे बच्चा बात नहीं कर रहा है बच्चा बात क्यों नहीं कर रहा है मोटर भी अफेक्टेड होगा को-रेगुलेशन भी अफेक्टेड होगा इंट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन अफेक्टेड होगा रिसेप्टिव एक्सप्रेसिव अफेक्टेड होगा बहुत सारी चीजें अफेक्टेड होगी तो केवल स्पीच पे काम करने से स्पीच कभी नहीं आता ठीक है तो ये बहुत तो ऑटिज्म इज बेसिकली it's a neurological disorder impacting gut very significantly. Gut is also quite affected in autism. अगर आप किसी functional medicine doctor से बात करेंगे तो बोलेंगे yes high overload of toxins, high overload of like high parasitic overload. तो ये अलग तो हर किसी का अपना एक लेंस है और कोई भी गलत नहीं है जो स्टडी उन्होंने किया है जैसे उन्होंने समझा है तो कुछ लोग ऑटिज्म को लाइक फंक्शनल मेडिसिन के दे आर गेटिंग गुड रिजल्ट्स इवन थ्रू फंक्शनल मेडिसिन राइट व्हेन दे आर स्टार्टिंग अर्ली few kids those who have less of those kind of difficulties they have got very good results from therapies itself now therapies also few kids have got like benefited from PT few kids have benefited from OT so depending upon उस बच्चे का unique difficulty कहाँ रहा होगा finding that right therapy is the most important thing or right approach I will not call it कुछ बच्चों को थेरेपी की जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ी क्योंकि पेरेंट्स वर लाइक दैट that they were able to form a guiding relationship with the child on its own. And I'm just giving various examples. एक example मुझे पता है this particular example India का नहीं है US का example है this mom was mute मतलब mom was not able to talk. This mom was deaf and dumb and the child was autistic. Just because she could not talk, she had to use a lot of non-verbal communication herself, and non-verbal understanding of non-verbal communication is the foundation of my verbal communication. This child actually developed a lot of skills on its own without any therapy. The only therapy was put on was RDI. But I got to know this child from RDI only. But the mom being deaf and dumb helped this child to develop. This is the biggest, what I say is, the biggest disservice we do to the parents when they get a diagnosis is to tell them, stimulate your child 24 hours. That is the biggest lie we tell.
And ma'am, nothing is coming, nothing advanced technology is not coming. Even blood cancer is cured, all the, we have reached in the moon, but for autism, no.
How can a technology replace a relationship? Tell me. Relationship cannot come through technology. Guiding relationship, no technology can ever replace. Let's stop looking for technological solutions for autism.
Okay.
एक पेरेंट और चाइल्ड की रिलेशनशिप को टेक्नोलॉजी कैसे रिप्लेस कर सकता है? पहले मुझे ये बताओ कि बच्चे को आईपैड दे दो, आप उसको माँ बाप की जरूरत ही नहीं है। क्या हम कर सकते हैं ऐसा? नहीं कर सकते ना। तो आप let's stop expecting a technology solution. Technology solutions are there. AEC is my technological solution to help my child get an avenue to communicate. Right? So those kind of things are coming. Communication को हम technology से solve कर सकते हैं। इंडिपेंडेंस को बहुत कुछ, ठीक है, वी कैन हैव स्मार्ट होम्स। आजकल तो बहुत स्मार्ट होम्स कर सकते हैं, बहुत सारी चीजें हो सकती हैं, धीरे धीरे हो भी रहा है, वो हो सकता है। सो वी कैन इंप्रूव द क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ बाय डिवाइसेस, असिस्टिंग डिवाइसेस, बट वी कैन नॉट रिप्लेस ब्रेन थ्रू टेक्नोलॉजी, वी कैन नॉट रिप्लेस बॉडी थ्रू टेक्नोलॉजी। आप बोले कि टेक्नोलॉजी दे दो भाई, मैं तो एक्सरसाइज ही नहीं करूंगी, ऐसे कैसे होगा? टेक्नोलॉजी दे दो भाई, मैं तो खाना ही नहीं खाऊंगी, ऐसे कैसे होगा? मुझे कैप्सूल दे दो, मैं खाना नहीं खाऊंगी, ऐसा तो नहीं होता। ऐसा तो ये सब चीजें विम्स एंड फैंसीज हैं, आपके स्टार वॉर्स वगैरह में होती हैं, पर ये रियल लाइफ में नहीं होती हैं। सो लेट्स नॉट इवन थिंक अबाउट इट. Let's also give credit to all the scientists, neuroscientists, neurobiologists, and therapists, various kind of therapists. They are working day and night to find what is happening in autism, and they are really coming up with latest interventions. The way we can honor them is to really be open-minded and learn all those things. Let's be empowered. Let's stop. I mean, let's also try to gain knowledge ourselves. Technology can only assist. Technology cannot solve anything.
Okay.
एक सोशल कम्युनिकेशन डिसऑर्डर को आपको सोशल एंगेजमेंट के थ्रू आप सॉल्व कर सकते हो, टेक्नोलॉजी के थ्रू नहीं। टेक्नोलॉजी तो डिटैच कर रही है आपको, टेक्नोलॉजी इज डिटैचिंग यू। बच्चे पूरे दिन बैठ के आईपैड देखते हैं, पेरेंट्स पूरे दिन बैठ के नेटफ्लिक्स देखते हैं, टेक्नोलॉजी तो डिटैच कर रही है। तो डिटैचमेंट, हाउ कैन यू ट्रीट अ डिटैचमेंट डिसऑर्डर थ्रू डिटैचमेंट? बाकी ठीक है, टेक्नोलॉजी डेवलप हो रही है, न्यूरो फीडबैक टेक्निक्स है, बहुत कुछ हो रहा है, बहुत कुछ हो रहा है, ऐसा नहीं है, चीजें हो रही हैं, राइट? बट co-regulation is the starting point, leading to sensory motor and then leading to other stuff, like whatever, like language or whatever we have talked about.
That we will achieve through co-regulation or therapy or gaining knowledge that. But I was thinking just like a capsule or some treatment will come, that why it's not coming? That's okay. It's our duty.
वही ना, ऑटिज्म अगर इतना सिंपल डिसऑर्डर होता तो कैप्सूल आ जाता, पर ऑटिज्म, as I told you, my first statement was autism is the pure CP or Parkinson's. Autism is pandemic. ऑटिज्म जो कि अभी तक का सबसे कॉम्प्लेक्स डिसऑर्डर है, आप उसको एक कैप्सूल से कैसे सॉल्व कर सकते हैं? मतलब अभी तो हम समझे भी नहीं ऑटिज्म को, अभी तो हमें ये भी नहीं पता कि बच्चा ऑटिस्टिक हुआ क्यों है, एनवायरमेंटल फैक्टर्स है, जेनेटिकल फैक्टर्स है, क्या है, अभी तो हमें ये भी नहीं पता। जब हमें ये ही नहीं पता कि इस बच्चे का ऑटिज्म किस रीजन से हुआ है, तो आप उसको कौन सा कैप्सूल दोगे, राइट? अभी भी हम सिम्टम्स पे ही एक्चुअली काम कर रहे हैं।
यस मैम।
अभी भी हमारा रिसर्च उतना एडवांस हुआ नहीं कि अभी हम कॉजेस पे जा पाए। स्टिल वी डू नॉट नो द कॉज। मुझे नहीं पता मेरे बेटे को ऑटिज्म किस वजह से हुआ। Is it genetical? Is it my stress during my pregnancy? I mean, I'm just giving you some. Or is it I was exposed to some pollution? I have no idea. I have really no idea. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I think we can conclude this. If anybody has any question, I think the last 1 minute, last one question if you want to have, and then we will conclude this meeting. Yeah, so Divya wants to ask a question. Yes, Divya. Please unmute yourself and From whom the question is for who the question is?
It's for you only, ma'am.
Okay.
Because you or Shivani, anyone can answer that.
Okay.
So it's related to therapists and parents. So when we deal and give so many therapies for our children, right? So even we also have a limit of exhaustion, or that actually we carry that, we absorb that emotion. If in my sessions particularly, every child almost cries in my session because of the pain. They'll have treats or exercises, or even Abhishek or Sarah, the species also have a difficulty while they give this OPD. So when they cry, we absorb that emotion, right? So we also have a bottle of that. We keep it, and the next kid comes, we close that bottle and we just keep a smile on our face. So how do we deal that?
Therapist burnout is also one thing which no one talks about.
Yeah, that's what I
Do you think it's only parental? It's only parental burnout? Have you ever thought about therapist burnout? Nobody has. I mean, this is the term actually I coined because I never heard this term from anybody else. Therapist burnout is a big thing. Therapists are also human beings and they also have their emotions. They're also connected to a child. And sometimes the way parents behave impacts therapist relationship with the child. Always understand it. The way parents behave with the therapist impacts therapist relationship to the child. Therapists are also humans. They're trying their level best. Do you know how much research they are doing to give the best? How much studies they have to do to give the best? How many certifications they take to learn the new approaches and interventions? So definitely one key is in the hands of the parents to appreciate what therapists are doing, to give them the credit where it is required, right? That is first thing. A second thing which has to come from the therapists themselves is detachment. Detachment not from the child, detachment from the outcome. Because once we are attached to the outcome, then we get affected. So what the way is, if we understand that every behavior my child is bringing it is a communication, and if you are able to understand the communication and able to address it, getting detached from the outcome that I have to prove that whatever I'm doing is going to fix my child. Because if you're able to detach from that emotion and I'm fixing the child, rather than I need to understand my child's communication, and child is the prime here, and I am doing something what my child's need at this moment is more important rather than developing a skill at that time, because my child is not able to take that input anymore. So that is very important. Now in a PT, OPT session, even SPET session, children cry. Now, when children are cry, then what do we have to bring in again? Co-regulation. So co-regulation becomes very important there, because as I told you, co-regulation is that unsaid language and rapport between two people. Things which are not said, that between two people. Understanding other person's or child's perspective and able to give your perspective to the child. For that, you need relationship. Now, relationship just does not come through love or bonding. The way you build relationship is through your gestures, through your body language, through your facial expressions, through your tone, through your prosody, right? So a simple smile and just remaining non-verbal for a time, and just that simple smile itself actually can calm the child. So then, but if the therapists are always put under a pressure, you have worked with my child for 45 minutes, but in 45 minutes you were smiling at the child. So what have you done? This therapist cannot be detached from the outcome, because this therapist is constantly being judged by the parent. Then this therapist cannot help the child much. This is therapist burnout. When I'm constantly under the pressure that back to back to back, I have to work, and every child coming to me is different. So I have to have a switch. See, for parents, it's just one child we are dealing with, and we understand our child in and out fully. But for a therapist, it's back to back, a child after a child or after a child. I also need to switch myself. A verbal child is coming, then a non-verbal child is coming, then a hyperactive child is coming, then say a CP child is coming. I also have to immediately switch. And if I'm 2 minutes late in my session, my parent is questioning me. Why you are 2 minutes late? That 2 minute worth of money which I'm paying. First thing is respect your therapist. If they are in a therapist burnout, they will not be able to give their best to your child. So the first key is always with the parents. I don't know how much you're able to understand what I'm saying here. You must be thinking I'm running an organization too. I'm siding by my therapist, but I'm a parent too. And there was a time I was also a taker of a service when I didn't before starting an organization. So I am keeping that in my mind plus what I see in my therapist. I witnessed their burnout, and I witnessed my burnout also. I witnessed my clients' burnout also. So my answer is based on the input I've taken from everybody. If we are worried about for you to have a parent burnout, and we are telling you to let go, we are telling you to slow down, we are telling you to take time for yourselves, therapist burnout is equally alarming. So do you think as a parent you are ready to support your therapist? You're ready to like give them a very doable expectation? So your child's progress is entirely in your hand. Therapists are the guides. How you form relationship with others becomes a model for your child to understand relationships. If you are constantly fighting with the therapist, the child will never be able to value that therapist because the child is forming a judgment about the therapist based on your behavior with that therapist. But that child will not be willing to learn anything from that therapist. And we witness it every day. And if you are good to a therapist, your child will be loved by those therapists. Again, I'm not saying that they will not love the other children. They will, because that's the job of a therapist. But again, it's a job, it's a role. As I told, it's like a teacher's role. My job is to just give a 45-minute session, work on these goals, and I'm done with it. Now, whether I'm doing it with the emotion or I'm doing it as a job, it depends upon the parents. What kind of relationship do you bring in? I hope this was Divya. Are you satisfied with my answer?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes. Thank you so much. Because no one actually talks about therapist burnout. Actually, yeah, never.
Yeah.
Because we also, as you said, have to switch our roles based on the kid. And we also have our own personal emotions, right? Based apart, leaving the job apart, we as a person, as the human being, we have our other emotions. So actually, parents also play a good role in that. So thank you.
Yeah. So please do appreciate all the people you're working with. Appreciate everyone. Make an effort to wish them on their birthdays. Make an effort to wish them on festivals. Tell them that what an important role they are playing. We also do it for the parents. You also do it for therapists. Please build that relationship. Once you learn to build that relationship, you will be able to follow it through with your child also. Shall we conclude the session now? It's already 1:20.
Yes.
Okay. Already like we're touching 3 hours. Thank you all for joining in. And I hope you continue to take advantage of all the events which we do. We do a lot of free events. And those free events are actually also quite informative. Please join all those free events. And please, whatever programs we are recommending, please join them. Please join them. Don't think that we are selling our programs. PlayState is never working for business, because business is important. We have to run the show, but we are not working for money. I can guarantee you that. We have a very good team. All the therapists are very passionate and very sincere to their work. And if you're recommending you a program, because we see that need, and we think at this point of time, please prioritize this, and then perhaps you'll be able to meet the goal what you are expecting. We don't want you to do 100 things at a time. We want you to do 1 or 2 things at a time, so that you are not burnt out. You do not spend too much of money at the same time, right? Your effort is also very focused and prioritized. So please listen to your therapist, value them, value their recommendations, and please take the right program, whatever it is. That's the reason we keep on creating programs. There's an upbeat program, there's a OPT, like there's a co-regulation program. There's we all sometimes art and craft, all those things, communication through art and craft. If you see my child is so interested in art and craft, then we bring an art and craft and try to do so many things. Give that avenue for my child to express his emotions through art and craft, through drawing, through paintings, anything. Very individualized it is. So please take the recommendation of a therapist and create that relationship. So I wish you all a very good weekend, and bye-bye.